When we look at the Bible, a crucial question comes up. Are the people who currently living in the land that the Most High gave to Israel following the commandments that the Most High gave to Israel? If they are not, the land in the past has rejected the presence of the people living there and initiates the eviction proceedings. In science, we often classify objects like plants as living and inanimate, non-moving objects like rocks as non-living. But the truth is, all of creation is inherently alive. The Most High does not create lifeless entities. As we go into the scriptures, we come to understand that the land, even particularly the land of Israel, is not only alive but governed by laws. Those who live there are required to adhere to the Most High's commandments, or else the land will kick out its inhabitants. It's Bible prophecy that the people who live there now currently will be expelled, and it's my firm belief that current events suggest that the land has initiated the eviction process. So to understand this a little bit more, let's start by reading Leviticus chapter 18 verse 24. Defile not yourselves in any of these things, for in all these things the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you, and the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity therefore upon it, and the land itself vomit out her inhabitants. And ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, nor any stranger that sojourns among you. For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land was defiled. And the land spew you not also, when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore you shall keep mine ordinances that you commit not any of these abominable customs, that ye defile not yourselves therein. I am the Most High your Elohim. When you read Leviticus 18, the Most High stresses and repeats himself of the significance of obeying the commandments to his people. The Israelites are cautioned numerous times against defiling themselves by violating the commandments, as the previous inhabitants of the land did. They are instructed to obey the commandments, statutes, and judgments, and avoid any of the abominable practices, to avoid separation from their people, and to prevent the land from being polluted. Elohim also warns that that behavior will taint the land, ultimately leading to them to be kicked out, just as it happened to the previous inhabitants. The Most High said that the land itself, which is alive, will not want them there, and will itself initiate the eviction process. So now, to understand this further, let's read 2 Kings 17:23. Until the Most High removed Israel out of its sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets. So Israel was carried away out of their own land to Assyria until this day, and the king of Assyria brought them from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there, that they feared not the Most High. And therefore the Most High sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they speak to the king of Assyria, saying, The nations which thou hast removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the Elohim of the land. Therefore he has sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the Elohim of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, Carry one of the priests whom ye brought from there, and let him go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the Elohim of the land. Then one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Most High. When you read these verses in 2 Kings 17, they describe the consequences of Israel due to their disobedience and the subsequent resettlement of the land by other nationalities. It's important to remember that this is just the 10 tribes of Israel. The 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin, are still in the land of Jerusalem. The 10 tribes were carried away from their land to Assyria, fulfilling Elohim's prior warning through the prophets. The king of Assyria then brings other people from various regions to settle in the cities of Samaria, replacing these exiled 10 tribes. Initially, these new settlers do not worship the Most High, leading to attacks by lions from among them. Recognizing this as a punishment from the Most High, they inform the king of Assyria. So in response, he sends one of the exiled priests back to teach the new inhabitants about the manner of the Most High and how to properly worship him. The priests instruct the non-Israelite individuals the commandments, which are mandated by the Most High and by anybody who is living in this land. The land wants the people there to obey the commandments and periods of rest. So to understand this period of rest, let's read Leviticus chapter 25, verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Most High. 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard, and gather the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, and a Sabbath for the Most High. Thou shalt neither sow thy field, nor prune thy vineyard. In these verses in Leviticus 25, Elohim gives the Israelites instructions about the agricultural practices they are to follow when they enter the Promised Land. He commands that the land should observe a Sabbath of rest unto the Most High. So 6 years the Israelites are allowed to sow their fields, prune their vineyards, and harvest their produce. However, the 7th year is supposed to be a period of rest, and during this time, the Israelites must not sow their field, nor prune their vineyards. They're just to leave it alone. When they do this, the land gets a period of rest and rejuvenation, reflecting the importance of sustainable agricultural practices and the obedience to the Most High's commandments. You have to follow this no matter what you think or what you do. You must do it. Leviticus chapter 26, verse 33. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and I will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbath, as long as she lies desolate, and ye shall be in your enemy's land. And even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbath, as long as it lies desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbath when you dwelt on it. In this part of Leviticus 26, the Most High warns the Israelites of the consequences of their disobedience to his commandment. He lets them know he will scatter them among the nations, and the land will become desolate, and their city will be in ruins. The Most High's words were fulfilled as he promised, just as we read in the book of Kings a few hundred years later. So he warns them in Leviticus, and then a few hundred years later he keeps his word. The desolation of the land will allow it to enjoy its Sabbaths and periods of rest, which the Israelites neglected. So the Most High and the land wants the commandments to be kept, and it will do so at any cost, even if it has to remove the people who are on it. He states that if they do not follow his commandments, he will scatter them among the nations, and the land will become desolate, and all their cities will be in ruins. The Most High's words were fulfilled. The desolation of the land will allow it to enjoy its Sabbaths and periods of rest, which the Israelites had neglected. The land will finally have its rest that it was supposed to have when they lived there. It's important to understand that the land itself is alive and desires its rest. So now let's read Ezekiel. To understand prophecy and what's going to happen in the future, let's move on to Ezekiel chapter 36, verse 1. Also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, Ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Most High. Thus saith the Most High thy Elohim, because the enemy has said, Aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Therefore prophesy and say, Thus saith the Most High thy Elohim, because they have made you desolate, and swallowed you up on every side, that you might be in the possession unto the residue of the heathen, and ye are taken up in the lips of talkers, and are an infamy of the people. So in verse 1, Ezekiel is instructed to speak to the mountains of Israel, and tell them to listen to the words of the Most High. Israel's enemies have seized control of the high places in the land, celebrating their conquest and the defeat of the Most High's people. They say even the ancient places are now ours. Elohim commands Ezekiel to prophesy against these adversaries, or the people who have taken possession of the land. The Most High acknowledges Israel's desolation and humiliation. They have been encircled, devoured, and ridiculed by these other nations, turning the land into an object of scorn and disgrace among the people. And the land itself now has a bad reputation. In other words, the Most High is telling Ezekiel to apologize to the land on his behalf. I've heard some people say that this is an analogy for the land and the people. I can assure you that it's just about the land. The Most High is not apologizing to the people. What the people got is what they deserve. Now verse 4. Therefore ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Most High thy Elohim. Thus saith the Most High thy Elohim to the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, and to the desolate waste, and to the cities that are forsaken, which have become a prey and a derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Therefore thus saith the Most High thy Elohim, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey, Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, to say unto the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, Thus saith the Most High thy Elohim, Behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because you have borne the shame of the heathen. Therefore thus saith the Most High thy Elohim, I have lifted up mine hand. Surely the heathen that are around you shall bear their shame. And the mountains of Israel, you shall shoot forth your branches, and yield your fruit to my people of Israel, for they are at hand to come. For behold, I am for you, and I will turn unto you, and ye shall be tilled and sown. I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, even all of it, and the cities shall be inhabited, and the waste shall be builded. In verses 4 through 10, the Most High extends his apology through Ezekiel to the entire land of Israel, addressing not just the mountains, but his hills, and the rivers, and the valleys, and the desolate wastes, and the forsaken cities. He acknowledges that the land has suffered prey and derision from surrounding nations, and he expresses his anger and jealousy towards those nations, particularly Idumea. Idumea is Edom. He's upset with them for claiming his land and mistreating his people. I can tell you as a surety, at this time when Ezekiel is doing this, Idumea is not in possession of the land. It is Assyria. Elohim assures Israel that the surrounding nations will bear their shame. In other words, he's going to punish them for their actions. He promises restoration and prosperity to the land of Israel, declaring that in a future time it will flourish and yield fruit and be repopulated. The cities will again be inhabited, and the desolate places will be rebuilt. Elohim affirms his support for commitment to Israel and the promises to them to bring about their restoration and growth. Let's continue reading Ezekiel 36:11. And I will multiply men on you and beasts, and they shall increase and bring fruit, and I will settle you after your old estate, and I will do better than at your beginnings, and you shall know that I am the Most High. And I will cause men to walk on you, even my people Israel, and they shall possess thee, and thou shalt be their inheritance. Thou shalt no more henceforth bereave them of men. Thus saith the Most High Elohim, because they say unto you, Thou land devourest up men, and hast bereaved thy nations. Therefore thou shalt devour men no more, neither bereave thy nations any more, says the Most High. Neither will I cause men to hear thee in the shame of the heathen any more. Neither shalt thou bear the reproach of the people any more. Neither shalt thou cause thy nations to fall any more, says the Most High. In 11 through 15, Elohim promises restoration and revitalization to the land of Israel. He vows to multiply both human and animals on it, leading to increased productivity and prosperity. The land will be resettled as it was in the past, but this time with even greater blessings. Elohim assures that his people Israel will once again walk on the land, possess it, and it will become their permanent inheritance. He also talks about the accusation that the land is known for it consuming its inhabitants and causing other nations to fall, promising that this will no longer be the case because the situation will finally become permanent. Elohim vows to silence the shame and the reproach from the other nations, ensuring that the land and its people will no longer suffer. Specifically, if we read in verses 13 and 14, he addresses the bad reputation of the land. It's known for killing and kicking out various nationalities over and over again in the past. But he's promising that this will no longer happen as he will repair its reputation. To sum this all up, it doesn't make sense when people say that the Most High's laws are abolished, when you consider that even the sun, the moon, and the land itself have to follow the laws even to this day. If the sun doesn't follow a law, it doesn't rise. If the moon doesn't follow laws, it would no longer shine. So all these entities must follow laws, and Israel itself wants to keep its Sabbath, as we read in Leviticus. Nobody in the land there now is keeping any law whatsoever. They're doing whatever they feel is good. That is not what the land wants. That's not what the Most High wants. So the people there, even according to prophecy, must be expelled. The land expects the people in its borders to follow the commandments. Currently, none of this is being done. This assures us that, as prophesied in Ezekiel, the people will be removed by the land and by the Most High. It's not a matter of if, but when. I firmly believe we are in the initial stages of that process. We need to observe, pray, and see what happens next. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.